fine Saturday morning, Tavzi was in his spot, relaxed. It's a normal Saturday morning. I was just reading a book when I all of a sudden felt a movement in my upper chest, an unusual movement for that matter. And the only thing that you can think is, I've never had something like this. Could it be a heart attack? And I had legitimate reasons to believe that it could be a heart attack because a very close family member, in fact, my father, had passed away of heart-related issues. And so I thought to myself, I must be having a heart attack. And so I called my neighbor and I said, hey man, I'm having a heart attack. You need to rush me to the hospital. And I get to the hospital, hysterical as I was, in ER, emergency room. One of the nurses asked me, sir, what is wrong? And I said to him, I think I'm having a heart attack. And his answer was, sir, if you're having a heart attack, you will know, you won't think. So you're probably not having a heart attack, it must be something else, And I was not happy with that answer, and I said to him, I've never experienced something like this, it must be a heart attack. So they put me on the ECG machine and monitor my heart. And in fact, the guy was like, you see, there's your heart. It's a perfectly normal heartbeat. So there's nothing wrong with you. But during this entire period, I couldn't help, as I said, you sort of go into this trance where I kept on hearing voices in my head. And those voices were voices of myself. That's the only way I can put it. They were voices of myself because those people were me. And it's not so much you hearing the voices, but you get the essence that you hear in the voice. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like I hear, I'm aware of. And so these voices were saying, we're not happy. We are not happy. We're not happy. And by the way, my name means we are happy. And so I hear these voices saying, we're not happy. And I'm like, oh my God. And this growing sense of, you didn't fulfill your purpose. And so I was praying, I said, God, if you can spare my life, I will do everything that I can just to find out at least what was my purpose. Because I didn't think that I would live beyond those days when I was sick. Needless to say, it's 7 years later, and I'm still alive. But picture this for a minute. The first day I'm having all of this hysteria, the drama about going to the hospital. I'm desperate. I'm thinking I'm going to die. I don't know what my purpose is. I'm desperate. I'm really, really desperate. I want to know what my purpose is. So I had with me a notepad. So I kept on writing. At first I was trying to write my will. Like I don't have a will. I need to write my will. To if I don't die, what were my thoughts? This is what I thought about different issues, and that culminated into me actually writing my first book, which is called The Battle for Purpose. And so my books are really written with no, if I could borrow the word, BS. I wanted the truth, but most importantly, I wanted to understand what is the purpose of life. But if I were to tell you what the purpose of life is, I would also have to demonstrate to you, how do I know that I'm right? And so, seeing that I'm a scientist, I thought I will finally put my science-ness to good use and come to some kind of a scientific view of what I think is the purpose of life. And so, as a result, you would know when you're going to write anything in science, the first thing you do a literature review, you try and find out what people think of the subject, and most of the people, they give you their views of what they think is the purpose of life, and nothing really follows a scientific evidence of this is how they arrive at their conclusion. And so I thought what I will do is I will find a method or a process with which when I arrive at the end of my conclusions, I would know that the process itself is free of human error, subjectivity, bias, and such. Because most of the time when people talk about purpose, the first thing that they will tell you is what a thing is used for, right? This is what I use this thing for, and therefore that is its purpose. And I want you to please listen to my words today. That is the lowest form of purpose. It's the lowest form of purpose. In fact, the primary form of purpose is that what a thing is, that is its purpose, because it sets it apart. But beyond that, there's some formulae that makes a thing to be a thing precedes the existence of a thing. Meaning, before a thing exists, a thing is. And that is the essence of a thing. And that's how I believe that God created every one of us. That before you existed, the sum formula was there. Before you existed, the sum formula is there. And so we also believe that, but God created me for a purpose. And this is what I have discovered, that you weren't created for a purpose, but your purpose created you. What do I mean by that? The sum formula that makes a thing to be a thing precedes the existence of a thing. I don't know if you know how gunpowder was discovered. Anyone? And so the story goes that the Chinese philosophers, they were looking for what is called the philosopher's stone. Could be anything. It could be a mixture of anything. And so this one particular rogue philosopher was in his house trying to mix stones, trying to arrive at what he would believe to be the formula for the philosopher's stone. And so as he was busy mixing, he was busy mixing the ingredients of gunpowder. And lo and behold, when all the ingredients that are necessary for a gunpowder to become, the gunpowder, boom, comes into existence. And so it is with each and every one of us, that when all the ingredients, the sum formulae that makes us to be who we are in the same place, boom, Biko comes to be. Boom, Rethabile. And so that sum formula is eternal. And I believe that it is the language of God. God works only with law and order. And so I became aware then that my existence is so divine that even just veering 1 degree in a direction that is not in line with my essence, I discover defeat. And in fact, Professor Peterson says, your purpose self-terminates when it's not realized. One other filmmaker says, we become weak when we lose our way. And so it became even more increasingly clear that I was becoming sick because I was not fulfilling my purpose. And that's how specific purpose is, because it is really the will of the Father. It is the will of the one who has created us that we must fulfill our purpose. And so I became even more aware that none of us is hidden none of us is hidden to God. You might think that your story does not matter. You might think, but I'm insignificant in some way. Your story matters just as much as the sun's story matters, because your purpose has created a specific niche for you. And I can tell you now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm living my life ready to die. I'm comfortable with the idea of dying, because everything that was meant to be done by me, every day, not an opportunity goes by without me doing that. I get to spend a lot of my days with my team, and to a lot of extent, they say, you're working all the time. I said, I don't have much time, I don't know how long I will live. And even if I were to die, it's okay. I'm not sick I'm not sick, but I've come to terms with the fact that we are mortal. We are not here to live forever. And if my story can inspire anybody to say, my life matters, my story matters, my insecurities matter, my battles matter, and even the confusion of not knowing you, not knowing yourself matters. That's all I would have achieved my purpose. I come from very, very humble beginnings, and most of the time when I say that, woke people often remind me, but you're not alone. Don't make your story special. Most of us in South Africa and Africa come from humble beginnings, and I've overcome the odds to come to where I am. And I hope that my story can at least inspire someone to say, don't be afraid. God himself, the creator, has created your purpose, and your purpose is to become. Aristotle defines becoming as any movement from a lower level of potential to a higher level of actuality. And I believe in the same way that you can make Nelson Mandela's life synonymous with democracy of South Africa. You can make Thabo Mbeki's life synonymous with ANC. You can make Diana Onguso synonymous with literature. I believe you can make my life synonymous with becoming. That is my story of moving from a lower level of potential to a higher level of actuality. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.